Welcome back to the channel, folks, where today, the 18th of April 2026, we look at another plant in the troublesome genus of Senecio. The good news, the plant that we're looking at today, Common Groundsel or Senecio vulgaris, is relatively easy to identify, albeit if we don't fall foul of the confusion species. So, without further ado, let's take a trip into the field and look at the plant in situ. Welcome back to the channel, folks, where the plant that we're looking at today on the 18th of April in early spring is a plant known as Common Groundsel or Senecio vulgaris, and it's a plant in the family Astercaeae. And we're going to look at this plant in detail. Where we find it is by roadside, wayside and in waste places, and it is effectively a ruderal or pioneer species colonising recently disturbed ground. We begin when the annual self-seeds, and it self-seeds from an achene which is transported on the wind by a parachute-like structure called pappus, and hence it gives the common name to the plant, which is old man in spring. So when the plant develops and the stem matures, it takes on a purple tinge at the base. As we move up the plant, we can see the leaf structure of the plant, which is a dark shiny green leaf, which is pinnately divided and quite sharply angularly lobed, as you can see if the camera can pick that out. So that's the leaf structure. As we move towards the top of the plant, the leaves have a tendency to hug the stem, and we'll show some pictures of that further on in the video. The stems themselves branch, and as they branch they give rise to the most identifiable feature, which is the cylindrical flower head, and that consists of a tightly packed composite of aggregated disc florets which are surrounded by a series of bracts. The bracts themselves on the outer layer towards the top, the inner layer towards the top, have bract tips, and further down on the outer layer, on the shorter layer, they also too have black tipped bracts. And this is all enclosed in a little button type flower containing disc florets, which are tiny little florets, each containing 5 fused petals and 5 stamens. When we covered the 5-minute family series, we looked at the flower form of the Astercaeae in detail. Namely, we can have forms which have both ray florets and disc florets, and we see that in daisies such as Bellis perennis and Leucanthemum, the oxeye daisy. In this case, in the case of Common Groundsel, we have disc florets only, or in the case of pineapple mayweed, disc florets only, and in the case of ray florets only, we have those plants such as chicory and dandelion, which are composed of ray florets only. So that's an overview of the flower structure, but it does get a little bit more complicated, because in the case of the confusion species, and there are 2, namely Heath groundsel, Senecio sylvatum, and Stinking Groundsel, which is Senecio viscosum, the plant does throw out ray florets, and in point of fact they are recurved, relatively few ray florets, and they are recurved, or in botanical terms revolute, that is to say they bend backwards or recurve. And we'll be looking at later in the video some dichotic factors in terms of distinguishing Heath and Stinking Groundsel, but in relatively simple terms, the Common Groundsel Senecio vulgaris is relatively straightforward for a beginner to identify. Some would say that the plant is a weed, but there again, a rosebush in a barley field is a weed to a farmer. and the plant has considerable value to various insects in terms of biodiversity. So this is an overview of the plant, Common Groundsel Senecio vulgaris, a plant in the family Astercaeae, and that is a quick stem to toe overview and a quick insight into the habitat, basically roadside, wayside, bare or disturbed ground where it colonises as a ruderal or pioneer species.
Groundsel is a frost-resistant deciduous annual ruderal that grows in disturbed sites, waste places, roadsides, gardens and agricultural lands where it colonises as a pioneer species and notably spreads along motorway and railway corridors. As stated, groundsel is a member of the family Astercaeae and is known by a number of common vernaculars such as Old Man in the Spring, Grimsel, Simpson, Squallweed, Grundy Swallow and Ground Glutton. The Latin binomial is relatively straightforward, with the prefix senecio being derived from the Latin word senex pertaining to age, and in this case the old man, which refers to the plant's flower heads that resemble an old man's beard. The suffix vulgaris simply means common or vulgar. So before we look at some more footage, let us recap and look at the features and characteristics relevant to the identification of the plant and compare it to the two confusion species. As always, we include a detailed botanical table which may be stopped at any point for those of you who may wish to study the plant in more detail. So let us review the floristic and vegetative characteristics of the plant. As stated, it is a member of the family Astercaeae, and it is an annual growing 16 to 40 centimetres in height. It has cylindrical yellow heads of florets, which are circa 8 to 10 millimetres, which are enclosed by bracts. The flowers have tightly packed, elongated cylinders of disc florets, and they usually, but not always in some subspecies, lack ray florets. The petals consist of 5 tubular lobes, which are usually equal. It has 5 stamens, which are joined and tube-like. It has 1 stigma, which is 2-lobed and has a long style. It has 1 ovary, below the petals and therefore inferior, and 1 celled. And the sepals consist of a ring of hairs. The plant can be seen flowering throughout the year between January and December. Turning to the vegetative characteristics, the leaves of groundsel spiral up the stem alternatively and are deeply toothed or compound, covered in fine downy hair. The lower and basal leaves may develop purple coloration on the underside and in the lower basal stem. The upper leaves have a tendency to clasp the stem. The seed of groundsel are geared toward wind dispersal. They are dry and cylindrical with hairy ribs, that is the aching, and a parachute of hairs known as a pappus. Following images show the plant setting seed, giving rise to its common vernacular name, Old Man in the Spring. There are 2 potential confusion species, notably Heath or Woodland Groundsel Senecio sylvaticum and the sticky or stinking groundsel known as Senecio viscosus. The primary distinguishing factor is the presence or absence of ray florets, distinguishing common from the 2 other confusion species. This slide also provides some clues in keying out the confusion species, where it may be necessary to examine the ashing for the presence or absence of hairs. As always, we should look at the plant as a whole, including any subtle habitat variation. The following 3 slides give an insight into the 2 confusion species, and it compares and contrasts differences. They may be stopped at any point and studied further. For the more observant of you, we make tentative mention of a potential neophyte, although the BSB maps do not show it in any abundance, but it may well be a plant which is overlooked and under-recorded. it is possible that the plant is reaching the UK in grass seed mixes. So let us allow the plant to speak for itself. Well folks, that's it from myself and the Common Groundsel. Once again, thank you very much indeed for watching, and I do hope you can join me on the next episode. If you have liked or enjoyed this video, or found it interesting or educational, please like, share and subscribe to help this channel bring more content. All that remains to be said, in the words of Maggie, our international symbol of floral appreciation, is whatever the weather is, get outdoors and enjoy it.